This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Let's get to it, man. Coming into 99, The Rock is on top of the wrestling world. He's the WWF World Champion, having won it back in November at the Survivor Series and the World Title Tournament. Arguably one of the best one night show angles ever. We've covered it in our archives. Don't you dare miss it, including the Tink heard round the world. He's the top heel.
Jerry Briscoe will whip your ass for that.
Hey, you named it that, not me.
I didn't name it. I just described it.
Oh, allegedly there's going to be some Jerry Briscoe action, later this fall or early winter over at adfreeshows.com as well. Anyway, let's talk about The Rock. He's the top heel in the company and, well, arguably the entire wrestling business. You know, you go back just 2 short years prior to this, he's debuting at Survivor Series 96 and he looks quite different. He's the blue chipper. He's Rocky Maivia. Fast forward 2 years and man, there's been all these different machinations of The Rock. You know, we tried it as the white meat baby face. That didn't necessarily work. We had die Rocky die chants and signs. Fast forward, he joins the Nation of Domination. When he comes back, now he's a heel. He starts to come into his own, becomes The Rock. We've talked about all of that, but what a special night it is on the roughly 2-year anniversary, having debuted at Survivor Series 96. And now by 98, he's on the top of the wrestling business. That's a pretty meteoric rise, is it not?
Probably, you know, when you look back and you look at guys that broke in, I'll even go back into the territories where a guy like Gino Hernandez had a meteoric rise. And that was partly due to the area, being a local guy there in Houston, Texas, and having the heritage that he had. Then, you know, you had second generation wrestlers that would come in like the Von Erichs, who had a meteoric rise in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And Rock came in, third generation wrestler who had it all. He had the looks, he had the charisma, he had the work ethic, he had everything. Brother, I don't think that anyone could compare to the rise, the time frame, but also the sustainability and growth outside of our business that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, had. And in this period, in 2 very short years, became the hottest thing in the business.
It really is unbelievable when you think about it. And a lot of younger fans probably only know The Rock as the big time actor who came back to the company a few years ago, but here for a long stretch, he's the most hated guy in the WWF. And we saw every version of him possible. Overall, did you prefer his work as a heel or a babyface?
As a heel, he was a babyface, and as a babyface, he was a heel. So the bastard was entertaining enough that it really didn't matter. The only thing that defined him in that role was his opponent. Whoever his opponent was, if the opponent was Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was a mega babyface, then by God, shit, he's going to be a heel. But if you slide him in against Triple H or somebody in between, then by God, it's he's going to be a fucking babyface.
We've got to mention, Meltzer reports at one point there was a plan for Rock to beat Triple H for the title on September 27th in Greensboro, but Triple H complained loudly enough that the idea was nixed. I know you're going to blow a gasket because I just said Meltzer's name, but did Triple H's influence start to grow in this era? I'm not going to ask you if that really happened because I know what you're going to say, but is this the era where you started to see him attending production meetings and sort of ease in his way?
No, I don't think he was. No, God, no, he wasn't attending production meetings at this time. Not even close. 99? No, not even remotely close. But yeah, he spoke up and he was a top guy and the champion. And that was the move. We had elevated him and took a shot, and the same people that complain about his push 10, 20 years later were the same people that were complaining about Austin's push and saying, why aren't you pushing Triple H?
Right. Well, here's the thing, for whatever reason, a lot of folks, well, I don't even have to say for whatever reason, we get it. You start to think, well, there's got to be some nepotism here if he's canoodling with Stephanie. And I'm not saying that's even happening in this era. I'm just saying
it wasn't.
Well, we know how it wound up. And I think a lot of people just raise an eyebrow and say, hey, we got to be more to it than that. And I also think that because the other guy's The Rock, you think, well, why would they side against The Rock? But in this era, even though The Rock is a giant star, he's still somewhat of an emerging star. It's not like he's The Rock today. He's not the biggest movie star in the world yet.
And so was Hunter.
Right. That's my point is these guys, maybe you go back to the prior SummerSlam, not 99, but 98. You could have flipped a coin as to who you guys were going to go with. Are you going to go with The Rock or are you going to go with Triple H? You went with The Rock first, but now it is very much Triple H's turn. And we get more of that on October 2nd in Birmingham, England. You guys run the Rebellion pay-per-view. It's Rock and Triple H in a world title cage match. And Triple H is going to retain 20 minutes and 33 seconds. Rock gets a huge ovation, tons of interference in the match, along with some juice. 3 3/4 stars. Vince is involved. Davey Boy Smith's involved. Cause you're in Birmingham.
Fucking A, Davey Boy.
What'd you think of, listen, not a lot of huge stuff usually happened at these UK pay-per-views, but they put on some great matches and great shows and it furthered the storyline, but if you missed it in America, you didn't necessarily miss much, except for that whole one night only thing where you guys dedicated the European title match to Davey Boy's dying sister and then beat him. Talked about that before. Still tickles me. Rock and Triple H here though, it's been said for years and years. Yes, Hogan was big worldwide, but Brett was another level in the UK. When Rock comes out to a huge pop like this, do you think, shit, maybe he's our next Brett over here?
Well, I think that, good God, he was much bigger than Brett. No, this was the Rock's popularity. It was funny about Rock sometimes. If you tried to make Rock a heel, the audience wanted him to be a babyface.
Right.
The longer he was a babyface, the more they wanted him to be a heel. Now I think that I really do believe that for the most part, he's universally loved just because he's The Rock and he's genuine and has an unbelievable work ethic. We didn't know that then. And he was just entertaining and just had a way about him that audiences dug. They just entertain me. They didn't care whether they loved him or hated him. They were entertained by him.
Well, in a traditional sense, the top guy is the champ and The Rock is champ here. Of course, we know that Austin's got a little situation. He's on the shelf and that really paves the path for, well, he could be the top guy in the whole business. And that's interesting to think about, especially when you're just 2 years in. Was there any concern? Oh, this guy's not ready. Oh, he's still wet behind the ears. Oh, he hadn't paid his dues. Or did Vince not have any apprehension on The Rock at this point?
I think all the above. There were a lot of guys that thought that Rock coming in and Rock gaining the spot, if you will, in wrestling vernacular of the only reason he's got that is because of who his old man, who his grandfather were. The only reason he's got that is because Pat Patterson brought him in. The only reason, bullshit. The reason he got that is because he was able to go out there and he was able to captivate an audience. You stuck a microphone in his hand and people shut up and listened. So you can have the best shit in the world written. If it's not delivered well, it doesn't mean anything. And Rock had the ability and the talent to take what was written for him and to make it more, to make it his own, and deliver that better than anybody else. So there was a lot of jealousy. I think that there were a lot of guys who had been in the business longer, journeymen, veterans that thought, man, this kid coming in and he's doing all this stupid, raising his eyebrow and The Rock says this and silly people's elbows and bullshit like that, that there was a lot of resentment. There was a lot of jealousy. I don't give a fuck, man. He was over. Audiences paid to see him and reacted when he spoke.
Talk to me a little bit about the decision to not put the belt back on The Rock here. I'm always curious the sort of theories about business. You've told us before that the WWF was a babyface territory, meaning you don't have a heel champion and baby faces chasing after him like we saw with Flair and Crockett. Instead, we have a babyface Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior or Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels or whatever. But we tried to change some things up here. Did you guys think that it was better for business if Austin was the champ or if Austin had something to rebel against, since he was sort of playing the everyman character and the underdog and everybody hates their boss? That doesn't feel like necessarily he would be the champion. He would be the guy chasing.
And then your story though becomes the boss trying to fuck him out of the title, and your hero every step of the way. It's almost like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Wile E. Coyote. So now you've got the champion who's dodging every attempt by the owner to fuck him out of it.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.